Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get back to that first thing I want to talk about on my podcast, Straight Out of Vegas, Roadrunner Podcast, baby. And I'm just getting started. I'm so excited about doing this because I was born to share my views and opinions with the world, and hopefully my podcast will go throughout the world. That's the unique thing about being on YouTube is I can do that. I have an unlimited market. So my podcast is not 3 hours like Joe Rogan, but I don't interview people like Joe Rogan does and pay to fly them in and wine and dine them and listen to their boring conversation. I just let you hear me. And can you imagine having to watch me for 3 hours? I mean, it would be brutal to watch Joe Rogan for 3 hours if he was just talking. I mean, he wouldn't have enough. He can't talk like I can. I already know this because he didn't live the notorious life I did. I was born for this because of the life and existence I had in the past by starting out as a pool player, leaving the state of Utah at the age of 19. And I was not an honest kid. I used to steal candy. I used to steal Christmas gifts from my mother and father because I was embarrassed because I was not able to buy as nice a gift for my parents as my three older brothers and older sister was. My oldest brother is 13 years older than me. My sister was 11 years older than me before she passed away. And she passed away at the young age of 54, so God bless her wherever she's at. I hope she's in heaven because that's where she wanted to go and that's where she deserves to have gone. So she was a beautiful person. I love my sister to death. Her nickname was Cookie, but her real name was Glenna. But I and my other brothers and my father and mother all called her Cookie because she was a redhead, and she had that cookie-type face, happy-type face, always a smile on her face. She was a happy youngster just like I was. So she was the only sister I had. But getting back to Joe Rogan, can you imagine listening to him for 3 hours and having to watch his bald head for 3 hours? So I just want to let you know that God gave me a good, healthy head of hair. But I'm not hung like, what's his name? Oh, yeah, Kevin Costner, the great actor, Kevin Costner. I'm not well hung like Kevin Costner. However, I'm in much better shape than him. I go to the gym regularly, and I've been in better shape than him my entire lifetime, and we're the same age. But God made me an incredible lover because God gave me the character to be strong enough to believe in who I was and the body He gave me, and that's why I'm a fantastic lover because I have no resolution about my body. I have no negative thoughts about my body. I have a beautiful body, beautiful physique. I'm 6'2", and I'm a ladies' man. I always have been a ladies' man. I've always been around beautiful women because why be around an ugly woman that's boring? You can be around a beautiful woman that's boring, so it's more important for me to pick a beautiful woman that has an interesting personality and has a good heart. So I took all three when I was around beautiful women. I had a hard time getting it up around a woman that had a tit shop, and I was never attracted to a woman with the doctor-ordered boob job. No, they just didn't attract me. I would much rather be around a woman that had nice nipples and smaller breasts than around a woman that had inflated breasts from the doctor and small nipples. But if I did happen to make love to a woman that had a tit job, I enjoyed sucking on her nipples. That's what I enjoyed playing with was her nipples. That's what I enjoyed, and I could care less about a woman's breasts. I like the nipples more than anything. But if I happen to be married to a woman with beautiful breasts, which I am, and beautiful nipples, well, I got lucky. If I hadn't written my book, I never would have met her, and she's half my age. Again, she was 32 years old when I met her in May 2023. And she just was ready to turn 33 right after I met her. And by the time she got back to Vietnam, after I flew back to America and she flew back to Vietnam, she turned 33 on June 1st. And I turned 68 in November. So I'm a Sagittarius. My birthday's in late November. And I was born to be a wanderer. And born with a stubborn nature. If you believe in Aquarius, actually, I don't really believe in that bullshit because I believe in God, and that's just another superstition as far as I'm concerned. Just like my wife tried to talk me out of getting married on Friday the 13th. But I told her, I says, listen, sweetheart, we're going to get married on Friday the 13th. It's no different day than any other day, and I promise you that any time our honeymoon is on Friday the 13th, I'll take you anywhere in the world you want to go on vacation. And I think the number one place she wants to go to on vacation is Paris, France, because a lot of women, they're turned on about that Eiffel Tower. They like going to the top of the Eiffel Tower and seeing the beautiful scenery and the beautiful view of Paris, France. Can you blame them? I mean, that was the best view of Bangkok, was going to the top of the hill where the Golden Temple was in downtown Bangkok. That was the most beautiful view of Bangkok that I ever saw in my lifetime, standing at the top of the Golden Temple, where I just met my wife outside the Golden Temple. So fate definitely took its course. But I want to talk about socialism, because socialism has killed 100 million people or more in the last century. Socialism is a stem of Marxism, and Marxism is meant to denounce and exterminate God from your thoughts and just incorporate no thought about God and destroy capitalism. And that's what socialism has done in the past. That's what they did in Russia. That's why the greatest educational movie about socialism that I ever saw in my lifetime was when I was 10 years of age in 1965, when Dr. Zhivago came out with Omar Sharif and Julie Christie, the sexy, beautiful blonde with beautiful lips, God-given lips, unlike Madonna's. You know, the nutcase who threatened to blow up the White House after Trump was elected in 2016, saying vocally on national television that I would like to blow up the White House. But nothing happened to her because she's a left-wing activist, and she's an idiot in real life. So nothing ever happened to her from that statement. But can you imagine, Trump making that statement? I'd like to blow up the White House now because Biden stole the election from me in 2020. But Trump spoke about peaceful things, about a peaceful march, and they blocked all that out on fake CNN News and MSNBC and CBS and NBC. Every news agency, they dubbed it out and edited everything to where Trump said, "Oh, we're going to cause hostility," and everything such as that. That was not Trump's speech. It was all dubbed out on purpose. So fake news in America is prevalent. And that's why Trump likes giving them a hard time, and I enjoy giving them a hard time also. Because I am the most outspoken person in the world. You just don't know it yet, but you're going to find out. And I will tell you this for sure. Zohran Mamdani, the nutcase mayor of New York City, was basically lived with his parents, and his parents paid his expenses, never had a real job in his lifetime. The only thing he can do is lift as much weight as I can. That's the only thing Mamdani can do. And because I'm not a strong weightlifter. I'm just I'm a weak weightlifter in the gym, and I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm in the gym to get in shape, tighten my gut, tighten my ass, and work on the stair climber every day. That's what I like to do. I like to get on the stair climber because it's great on your ass. And I can't work up a sweat on the treadmill like I can on the stair climber. And working up a sweat is important when you work out because that's how you burn the fat off your body. When your head starts to sweat, that's when you're starting and beginning to lose the fat out of your system and take all those toxins out of your system. That's why it's healthy to sweat. Dogs can't sweat like humans. They have different glands than humans. So dogs need water more readily than a human being because they have no sweat glands. That's why they pant when they breathe. God bless dogs. Because God is dog spelled backwards. And a dog is God in 4 legs. So getting back to socialism, I just believe that socialism is the most evil presence in the world. And I am so glad that they just had this raid last night and captured Maduro and his evil wife. And they're both going to get incarcerated because they did some evil doings to the public. They He actually lost the election and he refused to leave, but promised the American government in the past that if he got proper backing from the American government, if he lost the election, he would leave office. And the American government allowed him to do that, and when he lost the election, only getting 20% of the vote, he wouldn't leave office and remained the dictator that he was. So he was actually indicted in 2020. So it took this long for them to go after him. Can you imagine Biden or Harris being president of the United States right now? Do you think they would go after Maduro? Do you think they would go after socialism or the socialist movement or a dictator anywhere throughout the world? And I'd love to say that because Trump is our president, I can almost assuredly say that Cuba is going to go through the same ordeal. We're going to overtake Cuba. And I can tell you this also, this is a fact. There are not more people than per capita than in Miami, Florida, that hate socialism worse in America than in Miami, Florida, because they were victims of socialism and the socialist movement in Cuba. So a lot of people living in Miami, they know what socialism is all about, and they hate socialism. Just like those people in Venezuela that just cheered today, and they love Trump for what he did, because they are no longer captive of the dictator Maduro that was a narco-terrorist. That's exactly what he was, a narco-terrorist, bringing drugs into America and killing Americans. So I'm so glad that we went in there and took him back to New York City to be arraigned in court and locked up in jail. Again, I love ICE. I love the federal government because they protect us. They keep us safe. The only thing that I hate about the federal government is they have kept information about sex capsules from being disclosed to the American public to remind them how healthy they really are. They're the healthiest way to take sildenafil or tadalafil of any sex product in the entire world, of any sex drug. Sex capsules are the healthiest by far. They have this bee pollen out on the shelves. It's like spiked with sildenafil and tadalafil, and it's like a nice tasting honey that people take and they swallow it, and they think that they're going to have more quicker results by swallowing the bee pollen than they are by taking a sex capsule. What they'll do is they'll buy the bee pollen and they'll take the sex capsule also, which is not going to hurt them. It's just going to make them more ready for what their next sexual encounter, and that's what people do. That's why they buy the bee pollen over the counter, because they think it's the quickest acting. But there's one thing the bee pollen doesn't have. They call it bee honey, and they like. It's sold all throughout the countertops in America, but it doesn't hurt anybody. Believe me, it's very heart friendly. It lowers your blood pressure, enables the blood to flow throughout the body. So they don't go after it on the counter of the federal government because they know it doesn't hurt people, just like a sex capsule doesn't hurt people, and that's why the FDA doesn't get involved. Not just because it's not a prescription drug. The FDA knows about sex capsules, but they can't find the harmful ingredient inside a sex capsule. The worst ingredient inside a sex capsule is the fillers. Mine didn't have any fillers. I took the fillers out because why water down your liquor? Would you want your liquor watered down if you were a drinker? Would you want to drink watered down liquor or watered down beer? Of course not. You would switch to a different brand if they started watering down your favorite brand of liquor or beer. So my sex capsules were like Black Label liquor, the best quality in the world. And even to a higher degree, they were better quality than Black Label liquor, because sex capsules don't kill people. They don't harm your liver. They don't eat out your gut when you drink on an empty stomach and give you heartburn. But they will give you a little heartburn if you take them on an empty stomach. So it's always healthy to take a sex capsule or Viagra or Cialis on a full stomach after you've eaten a good meal, because they're like a vitamin. So what if they got chemicals inside of them? It's the chemicals that cause the pill or the animal bone capsule to flow throughout your body and enable your heart to receive the blood and pump the blood out back and forth throughout your body. So what the heart is pumping out is eventually receiving back in and pumping it out throughout your body. That's what the heart does. It's your soldier, pumping the blood throughout your body readily and excessively, so your body can receive proper blood flow from head to toe and all the way to your brain, and you'll think even better. Plus, this inheriting Alzheimer's disease which Alzheimer's disease is caused. They just found out from a recent experiment that Alzheimer's disease is caused and occurs more in older people because their brain cells diminish. So this tells me already, nature is logic. This tells me already that sildenafil decreases and mobilizes your brain cells from diminishing, which is a good thing, which is in every sex capsule throughout America and throughout the world, including Viagra. And Cialis, of course, has tadalafil, which makes your libido area harder. And that's why sex capsules always have a little bit of tadalafil in them. Not as much as tadalafil. Not as much tadalafil as sildenafil, but a little bit. Because tadalafil is a much stronger ingredient than sildenafil. First book out listed is Beehive Golden Pond in East Windover, Utah. Windover is actually a border town, so it's in 2 states. This small city of 6,000 people, about 90% Spanish people. What a beautiful town this is. That's Beehive Golden Pond on 479 Windover Boulevard in Windover, Utah. Buy a book there and get the free hat along with any book purchase. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. So, getting back to socialism, this is incredible that socialism is flourishing throughout the world, throughout world order. And the United Nations can kiss my ass because that's world order at your feet, ladies and gentlemen. That's world order. That's the new world order. And we actually fund the United Nations more than any other country in the world, but they represent China more than they represent America. So that needs to be changed. Otherwise, quit giving them money and get away from the world. What's it called? What's it called again? United Nations. United Nations. Get away from United Nations. Get away from them and stay away from them because they're not representing America, representing freedom in the world. They represent world order. And that's exactly what the Democratic activist politicians want to do. They want to cater to the world order, not to America. America is not number one with them. They want to actually transform and change America. So we need to get rid of these Democratic politicians and knock them out of office. And the only way we can do that legally is to vote them out. That's the beautiful thing about America, our right to vote, our freedom. The greatest freedom of all is the right to vote. Another great freedom is to bear arms. Because the criminals are going to have guns no matter what. It doesn't matter what the criminals are going to have guns. I can't even carry a gun to this day because when I was arrested in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they extradited my probation back to the state of Nevada, and I passed my probation with flying colors. A great probation officer named Officer Winterstein. He was a great guy. Then I had another probation officer. They switched my case over to another probation officer. Within a month or 2 months, my lawyer got me off probation 3 months early. Got me off probation in September of 2025. And I was supposed to remain on probation until December, the 1st of December in 2025. So my lawyer got me off probation 3 months early, and I gave my lawyer a $500 bonus along with another $2,500. So I gave him a $3,000 check for getting me off probation and helping me to complete my probation, which they could have put me on probation for 2 years. So my lawyer did a great job. Brent Stockstill from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the best lawyer that I've had in my lifetime that never stabbed me in the back in the future. And I'll probably never use his services again because he can't practice outside the state of Louisiana. So for anybody in the state of Louisiana, you want a great attorney that's not greedy, get Brent Stockstill out of Baton Rouge. I guarantee you, he'll represent you and not just himself. God bless you, Brent. If anybody listening to this podcast that happens to tell you, thank you very much for your great service. Anybody listening to the bad service I received from my 2 attorneys, Matt Johnson at Johnson and Gubler and Mike Samt, not once did they ever recommend that I show up to my court case on time. They never went out of their way to give me a call when I flew back to 6 court cases from the summer until the 1st of December. When I drove my car, finally got my car back after the 6th court case, finally was able to drive my car, get my Mercedes back, and that's when I gave Brent a $5,000 bonus when I took him out to lunch. And I just like keeping my word. My word is my bond. When I grew up when I was a kid, and like I tell you, I used to steal candy when I was a kid, and I even stole from a place, my second employment, I believe. My first employment was the gas station at the Gulf gas station down in, right across the street from the Cottonwood Mall, no more than 2 blocks away from where I lived in Holiday, on Holly Lane, 4693 Holly Lane. And what a beautiful house that was, backyard. We always had a dog. Well, I wasn't able to have the dog myself, but my family always had a dog, so I learned how to like dogs right from the start. We never had a cat. We never had a family cat. I have nothing against cats, whatsoever. But I just believe that, cats are like a beautiful thing. They're a beautiful animal to have. So anybody who likes cats, there are actually more cats in America than there are dogs. So cats are a beautiful thing also, although I've never owned or raised a cat. People who have cats and love them to death, God bless you, because cats need a lot of loving also. They love to cuddle. But getting back to my job at New Crisp Popcorn, which is the second job that I had in Sugar House, which was maybe like a mile or 2 miles away from where I was born and raised, because I was born and raised right across from the Villa movie theater. It's now a rug shop. My brother's competitor in the rug shop business, in the Persian rug business. And I would like to go back there and buy a rug someday, because I definitely won't go back to my brother's place and buy a rug. I'm not close to my brother. My brother's never, ever had my back, so that's how I feel about it. Why waste your time around somebody who doesn't have your back, whether it be your relative or your friend or not? Now, when I got in a talk with Bernie, I'll get on that in a few minutes, but talking about new Crisp Popcorn, that was something, like when I had that job, because I was I enjoyed it, but people didn't toke anybody in the service industry back then, so I remember going into the Farmer's Daughter Billiards when I learned how to play pool, and I still wasn't generating an income that was enough to satisfy my needs and give me enough spending money to enjoy myself. It costs money to pay pool times. You don't go in and shoot pool at a pool hall without paying time on the pool table you're on. So even if it cost like $1 or $2 an hour, that was a lot of money back then. And I liked to play up to 8 hours a day. So that was costing me maybe $16 a day, less what I could win off of an opponent when I gambled with him or played pool with him. I just sometimes you gamble for a quarter a game or 50 cents a game or maybe even $1 a game. That was huge back then to play for $1 a game. Oh my God! But anyway, when I would gamble playing pool and try to make it a more competitive event, it was fun. And everybody gambled in the pool hall. They didn't bet a lot of money, but there was a game called golf that cost they charge you $2 per player, and the winner would get $2 per player plus 25 cents per scratch. Sometimes they would charge 50 cents per scratch. The players would all agree to 50 cents commission per scratch that would be given to the winning players. So if one player had 8 scratches at 50 cents a scratch, that's $4 plus $2 for the game. They'd have to give $6 to the winner of the game. And then the winner would pay all the time for everybody, which would cost everybody I think everybody would pay 50 cents per game time. And that's how the table would make a little more money for the house by allowing a golf game to proceed. And everybody won. The players won. They got a little bit of a good discount on their time. The player got 50 cents per player in the game, and And the pool hall would make maybe up to $100 a day because that golf game would go all day long. It would start early in the morning and end later at night as the players disintegrated. But I seemed to be always the last player that left because I became the best player in the room, the best golf player in the room. And running 6 pockets in a golf game from the start to finish is truly a feat, which I have done a couple times in my lifetime by shooting the lag into the pocket and then shooting into the 2-hole, making the 2-hole, then the 3-hole, then the 4-hole, then the 5-hole, and then the 6-hole. I've done that a couple times, and I've had 5 pocket runouts maybe like a dozen times. But that's a true feat in the game of golf because it's extremely hard to play, and the pockets are very tight. They're very small. So you have to be a precise shooter, and you're shooting on a 5x10 table, 5x10 snooker table, which we played on in that golf game. But I'd never seen a life table, which is a 6x12 pool table. And that life table is the hardest of all tables to play a golf game on. And that game is being played currently at Fast Eddie's Billiards on Main Street and 17th South. 17th South and Main Street, just one block west of State Street in Salt Lake City, Utah, is a great pool hall called Fast Eddie's where they come in and play golf. And players come from all the way down from Logan, Utah, 90 miles north, to come and play in that game 2 or 3 days a week. One of those people is a very good friend of mine, Mike Engel, who happens to be, I believe, the best player in the game at this time. But I was a great pool player in Logan, Utah when I was like 19 years old. And that's when I was very good at pool, from the age of 19 to basically the age of 29 or 30. That's when I gave up pool. But I was the best player in the Valley for 10 years, and I traveled to Idaho and would get games in Idaho, in southern Idaho, and Pocatello and Idaho Falls, and nobody would want to play me in Logan, and I'd have to go down to Salt Lake City and compete, and go down to Ogden, Utah, and compete. Ogden, Utah actually had the best bar pool players in the state of Utah, and a bar table is a 3.5x7 table. Pool table is always like twice the length as the width. So bar box was 3.5x7, which I specialized in, and that's what I made all my money shooting pool on the road as the years went on. And I traveled throughout America until the age of 30 as a pool player, from the age of 19 to the age of 30. I went to college for a couple more years, but I never took college seriously, and I was always playing pool on the weekends and taking my road trips. Even when I was married, and that's what caused a problem in my marriage. But I was a wanderer. I was born a person that loved to travel, and I've always had it in my blood, and I've traveled my entire lifetime. But getting back to Fast Eddie's, they have this beautiful game, the golf game in Fast Eddie's, and they have a lot of good players that play this golf. They play better than I do now. I'm a spectator when I go play. I don't want to get in the game and be a sucker. I mean, I'd actually go in and start practicing on my own before I'd ever give my money to an opponent. I would like to get in stroke on that live table and shoot a lot of shots and spend hours playing before I'd ever play in that game. I learned how to just become a precise shooter and draw my cue ball back to position for the second shot, or use high English, left or right hand English to get around the table with the cue ball. So there's a lot of tricks to playing pool and being extremely good at pool. It's not an easy game. It's an extremely hard game. It's much harder to learn how to play pool than it is to learn how to play poker. People can learn how to play poker in a month. It takes years to become a good pool player. I learned how to play poker very quickly. I grasped onto the game more quickly because my street savvy, and because I'm a good people reader anyway, so reading your opponent when you're in a poker game is extremely vital. And I was born with natural card sense, so that was also an inheritance that I was given to by God that enabled me to play poker more effectively. But getting back to New Crisp Popcorn, when I worked in New Crisp Popcorn at the age of 17 years, of age. I was 17 years old. And I'd take a little money and when make sells and maybe sell a bag of popcorn, and I'd put it in my pocket, keep the change in my pocket. So I was stealing when I worked at New Chris Popcorn. Hey, would my podcast be good if I was lying to you? I have to tell you the truth. So there you go. I stole change, pocket change from New Chris Popcorn almost on a daily basis while I worked there for a 6-month period. And I'd go down to the farmer's daughter, and I'd change my change into dollar bills. I'd give it to the guy working up the pool hall. And the guy working the pool hall was a better pool player than me at the time. His name was Mike Bauckham. He started playing pool earlier than I did. And then there was Little Jack, nicknamed Little Jack, who was also a redheaded pool player who played down in Murray Billiards down on State Street. He was a great player. Then there was Dave Berman, who was another great pool player out of Salt Lake City, Utah, that's now dead. He died years and years ago. So he died at a very young age and abusing himself on drugs. So he wasn't very healthy when he died. So drugs definitely took the best of him. But he was a great pool player when he was my age. He was one of the 3 best pool players in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then there, after these 3 pool players were the best pool players in Salt Lake City, Utah, there was another pool player that started playing pool after I did. And his name was Mike Butterfield, very talented pool player. And he died of cancer about 30 years ago. God bless him, because he was a great guy. We made a couple scores together. We made a score together in Park City, Utah, when we played an ex-cocaine dealer who sold a lot of cocaine in Park City, Utah, and had a lot of money. And he liked to gamble. And I went up there and played him and beat him out of money. And I gave Mike Butterfield half my action, because maybe if you got done playing me, he'd want to play Mike, and maybe we could make more money on the score. So I learned that it was good to have another pool player by your side when you're taking down a score, just in case the other player wanted to have a partner play with him. I could have my friend who played as good or better than I did. Mike didn't play better than me on the bar box. I was the best player on the bar box, but Mike was the best player on a 4.5 by 9 table, because that's what he learned how to play pool on. But Mike came along like in my mid-20s when Mike Butterfield became a good pool player. He learned how to play pool about 7 years after I started playing pool. At the age of 16 was when I used to ride my putt-putt bike, my Honda 70, from Holiday, Utah, which is about 7 miles away from the Farmer's Daughter Billiards, which is in a chapter of my book. I call it The Farmer's Daughter. It's a chapter of my book. But it's not about a farmer's daughter, beautiful farmer's daughter that I met and had sex with and enjoyed making love to. And there's nothing to do about lovemaking. It was about being in a pool hall called The Farmer's Daughter Billiards, and that's why my chapter is called The Farmer's Daughter. That's why I learned how to become a great pool player, my original spot. And how I learned how to play there is a very good story, a very funny story that I'll tell you later on. And I will remember to tell you this story, because this is what transformed me to walking into The Farmer's Daughter and wanting to practice on a daily basis. All because I met somebody else from another junior high school that junior high, Churchill Junior High. Once you're in the 9th grade, you're in last year in your junior high school, and then it went to 10th grade. Then you go to a high school. So Churchill Junior High congregated to Olympus High School, which Olympus Junior High, where I went to junior high school, immigrated to Olympus High School. And that's how I met the pool player, Stan Jones, that beat me playing pool. But I'll get back to that. So talking about the Farmer's Daughter Billiards and playing pool and practicing playing pool and playing for like up to 8 hours a day, and then coming home like at 10, 11 o'clock or midnight, and coming back with a lot of change that I'd won playing pool, because the money that I stole from New Chris Popcorn was just that little bit of extra money in my pocket to take the heat off me, so I could learn and practice and learn how to become a good pool player. So I'm sorry, New Crisp Popcorn, if you're still open. If you are, I apologize. And if you are still open, that's a great place to buy popcorn in Sugar House. If you're still open, New Crisp Popcorn. God bless you. And whoever owns it, I apologize. I'm sorry. You're probably not the same owner. Probably they've closed down since then. So next time I go back to Salt Lake, I'd like to check that out. I never really thought about New Crisp Popcorn for years, ever since now, because I had to ease my conscience and tell you the truth. That's part of easing your conscience is telling about a mistake you made in the past. Is basically a way of forgiving yourself. If you can tell the entire world the mistake you made, then maybe you have truly forgiven yourself, because you can expose yourself to the entire world. So I truly repent of that, and I have never stolen from another business since then. Never have I stolen from another business since that time. And I quit stealing Christmas gifts from my parents, and I started buying them and not stealing them from the stores before Christmas, so I could put that nice gift under the Christmas tree and have a nicer gift underneath that Christmas tree than my 3 older brothers or sister. I love my parents to death. I wanted to give my mother the nicest gift I possibly could, and my father the nicest gift for Christmas. And I believe my mother always wondered how I was able to buy that gift, but never said anything. But my mother knew that I stole candy when I was a kid, because they called the cops on me, and then they were forced to call my mother, and my mother had to go up to the grocery store with me and make me apologize in front of them, saying that I would never steal their candy again. And when that happened, I quit stealing candy also from the grocery store, at least that grocery store. The other retail outlet to buy a book is Chevron Gas, Liquor, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street. There's 2 Chevron stations. Make sure you get the right one. That's Chevron Liquor, Gas, and Convenience Store on 1301 East Altman Street in Ely, Nevada. And you'll get the free hat whenever you purchase my book. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. So, playing pool with the farmer's daughter was a unique thing. But coming home late at night on my putt-putt and meeting with my parents and then having them argue and get mad at me for coming home late, and then having to go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning and be ready for school by 7:40. That's when the class would start. At 7:30 or 7:40 would be my first class. When my mother would drop me off at school, I'd walk into school. She'd give me a ride to school. I'd walk into school and walk through the hallway and walk out the other end and maybe stall for like 5 or 10 minutes. I'd walk out the other end, and I would either hitchhike or ride a bus, go over to 39th Street and ride a bus down 39th Street, or even walk sometimes to the pool hall, which was only a couple miles away, 2 or 3 miles away. So I would even walk there some days. But I never went to high school my entire junior year. And, at least half of the junior year. And then my parents moved to the district of East High School, and I was forced to stop going to school at Olympus High School and go to East High School. And that's when I was put on modular scheduling at East High School my junior year. Half of my junior year, I went to East High School, and the rest of my senior year, I went to East High School. And I barely graduated. I only had like 18 credit hours when I graduated from high school. I hardly got any credits when I was a junior in high school, maybe 1 or 2 credits for the entire year. So I got enough credits when I was a sophomore and a senior to have 18 credits. Well, that was the city district where it only required 18 credit hours to graduate from high school. But in the Granite School District, now in the county, the area in the counties outside Salt Lake City province, you needed 21 hours. of high school credit to graduate. So I never would have graduated from high school if my parents hadn't moved from Holly Lane to 2879 Millicent Drive, just above Hogle Zoo, about a block away from Hogle Zoo, and Immigration Canyon. Same thing, same distance from either one, about a block away. They owned a whole house in Oak Hills. My father owned the home and rented it to a guy who was on the run from the FBI, and the guy used to pay him cash every month, his rent. My father never questioned him. The guy said, I'm just going to pay you cash every month rent. And I think he was giving my father like $1,500 or $1,700 a month rent at the time, maybe $2,000. Maybe he was giving my father a better deal on the rent, and my father was making a few extra $100. And the guy liked that because my father never asked him questions. And the guy and my father that I've never known about since, all of a sudden left the house vacant and went out on the run somewhere, was gone. But he lived in that house for a few years. And he was on the wanted list from the FBI. But my father had a soft spot in his body. He just he would rent to people like low rent apartment. He used to buy like old apartment complexes or old houses and fix them up, and he would rent out to people that Spanish people that just come over to America or somebody from another country, but mostly Spanish people or somebody who was low income. And he'd rent the place to them, and they'd always be behind on the rent, but he always would work it out with them. He wouldn't kick them out. He was not an asshole and would kick them out when they were late on the rent. He'd give them a chance to work it off and work it back. And they most often did because my father always had a good relationship with the people he rented to, with his tenants. He had a good heart. My father had a good heart. And this is probably why this guy on the FBI responded to him and trusted him. And my father never ever said a word about him. He just collected the rent from the guy. The guy would come pay his rent, or come to my father's office and pay his rent. And nothing else was said. And my father was like righteous that way. His word was gold. When he said that he would keep it between that person or whatever, that meant something to my father. And he had a good relationship with this guy. But when the guy left the house vacant, my father couldn't get the rent that he was charging this guy. So he was actually charging a little more rent than normal. And then he figured that out when he tried to rent the house on Millicent Drive again. Because he couldn't rent it out, he thought, okay, here's a perfect opportunity. We'll move into it, and I'll sell the house on Holly Lane. And that's exactly what he did. He sold the house on Holly Lane. And we moved in to 2879 Millicent Drive, a block away from Hogle Zoo, and right next to Immigration Canyon. What a beautiful sight it was, a beautiful view of Salt Lake City, Utah. It always snowed more up there than it did down in the valley. So the worst part of me about living up on Millicent Drive was having to shovel the walks because it snowed much more readily, twice, 2 or 3 times more than it did in the valley because you're up in the foothills of the mountains that receive more snow. And that was the worst part of living there, other than just not being able to go to Olympus High and be around my old friends. And I was stubborn. I didn't want to make new friends at East High School. I just wanted to be around my old friends, and I remained to be around my old friends. I didn't want to make new friends at East High School, so I stayed to myself at East High School. And I would go sleep underneath the bleachers in modular scheduling, which was created because the high school burned up. They had a big fire at East High School the year before, and they had to, and the beginning of that year, my junior year, and they had to separate the classes with chalkboards. They didn't have enough space in the high school, so they had to use huge areas in the high school that weren't original classrooms, and they created new classrooms and separated them by chalkboards. So you'd have a class right next door to you, where you could hear the teacher or whatever talking or whatever, hear people in the other classroom. So it was kind of a little disruptive, but I didn't care because I wasn't there for an education anyway. I hated school. It didn't bother me one bit. The classroom was next door. And I loved modular scheduling. We were actually the first high school in America, 1973, 1974, to have modular scheduling, the first high school in America to have scheduling like colleges and universities. What a beautiful thing that was. That's not good for me, though, because I was a terrible student. Now I was getting less education than I was in a normal school or would in a normal school, where you had to go to every class, all several classes all day. Instead, I had to only go to, like, say, it's 3 classes a day or 4 classes a day. Then the next day, 3 classes. And this went on for like a year and a half until I finally was able to graduate in 1974. And I won the one-on-one intramural championship, the championship one-on-one championship at East High School playing basketball. I was a good one-on-one player. I was not the tallest player on the court, but I was quick. I could dribble the ball and handle the ball, and I could shoot well, and I could get past the guy and make a basket off a layup, get ahead of him to where he couldn't block my shot. So I was very quick, and I was very good at stealing the ball. So I was a great one-on-one player in basketball, and I won the championship at the high school. Took first place. Anyways, the baseball coach was sitting there in the stands or whatever and watching me play, and he thought, oh, he looks like a great athlete. And he asked me to come try out for his high school team. And he knew I was left-handed because I shot the basketball left-handed. So he wanted to make me his first baseman or a fielder. And naturally, I was going to be a left-handed batter. And I went out for the high school team, and I tried out. And I wasn't as fast as I was a year or two later. My body hadn't completely developed, and my speed was not at its highest effective level, and I couldn't jump as high as I could a year or two later, and I couldn't stuff the basket like I was finally able to do a couple years later. At the age of 20, I was finally able to stuff the basket. And this is when I was like 18 years old, the last year in high school, when he had me try out for the baseball team. So he knew he wasn't going to work me up to being a sophomore and work me into the program, and he said that it was going to be hard for me to have a starting position, and we had a talk. And we had that talk when, like, I left baseball practice one day and went up to Solitude and went skiing for the day on a beautiful sunny day. So I left high school baseball practice one day, which he didn't like, and I came back the next day after going to Solitude and skiing for the day on a beautiful sunny day after they had a snowfall the night before. Those are my favorite days to ski, a beautiful sunny day after they had snowfall the day before. That's why I was so inspired to go skiing on that day, and I didn't go to the high school practice for the team, and I came back the next day, and then he had his talk with me, and that's when I quit trying out for the baseball team. That's when I dropped off the baseball team. I was on the baseball team at this time, but we hadn't started playing the season games, and he said, I don't think I'm going to be able to start you. So, and you're a senior, and you're not the fastest base runner that I have, and you're not the fastest baseball player that I have, and heck, I was like probably 5'10" or 5'11" at that time. I hadn't even reached my total height, where I'm 6'2" now, and my body was still developing and hadn't fully grown. But I probably only weighed like probably 120, 130 pounds at the time, so I was not a big person. And how I was able to win the one-on-one basketball intramural championship was bizarre. I just didn't realize how good I was for how small I was. But I was a great basketball player. I just wasn't big enough to play high school basketball. I was only 5'4" when I was a sophomore in high school. So they definitely didn't want me at Olympus High to be a basketball player. And I was about probably not quite 6 feet by the time I graduated from high school. Maybe I was 6 foot when I graduated from high school at the age of 18. Went on to college at the age of 19 to Utah State University. But boy, what a head trip that was when I went to Utah State University. And I'll tell you that story later. But I was not born to go to school. I was definitely a bad student, and I hated school. I just wanted to be like my brothers. They were all very good students. They're very smart in school. And I was the worst student of all. And it drove my parents crazy. And all I can say is I had a beautiful childhood growing up. I was always competitive in sports, and I loved playing football, baseball, basketball. I even rode horses back then. But, I haven't been on a horse for once. The last time I was on a horse was in China. It was in Shenzhen, China, at Window of the World Resort, when I paid 15 minutes to ride a horse. Cost a couple dollars was all, but I rode the horse and just walked the horse. And didn't gallop the horse and run the horse, just walked the horse. And they were very unwell kept. They were not kept well. They were not fed well. They were like, they didn't take good care of the horses. The horse did not look happy that I was riding on. And that's the last time I ever rode a horse. With my friend Bailey. He was on another horse. And just walked the horses around for like 15 minutes and got off, and that was it. It's not like riding a horse in America, where you could run the horse or gallop the horse. Horseback riding is fun, but it's hard. It's hard on your body if you're not used to riding a horse. You're actually better off walking than you are riding a horse if you don't know how to ride a horse. But that's another story. And I just like to talk about Mamdani, Zohan Mamdani, trying to be the mayor of New York City and wanting to transform New York City. Well, what he's going to do is, with government stores, grocery stores, and putting a cap on the rent and raising the minimum wage to $30 an hour, is he's going to bust everybody, and he's going to keep landlords from being able to own an apartment building and operate it effectively, and they're probably going to be forced to sell the property, which is exactly what he wants to accomplish. He wants to eliminate private property in New York City. That's his ultimate goal. So nobody can own any private property. He wants to steal it all from the people that own those properties and confiscate it from them. That's the next stage. Thank God that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris are not the president of the United States, while Zohan Mamdani was elected as mayor of New York City, because they would have his back. And the beautiful thing with Trump is only going to put up with so much of his bullshit and maybe no longer fund New York City, because he's wasteful with the money and he's trying to take control over New York City like a dictator. He's like, he wants government to be... He wants to enlarge government. He wants everything to be run by the government, including the grocery stores. So he's going to run New York City right down the drain. The beautiful thing about it is he's going to expose New York City to the rest of America, and they're going to realize how bad socialism really is, and how socialism is just about controlling everything. It's not about giving you freedom. It's about taking your freedom away, because socialism is a stem of Marxism. To exterminate God and eliminate capitalism, destroy capitalism. So Mamdani can kiss my ass. I already know he's going to fail. He talks he gives a great speech. He gave a great speech on January 1st on his inauguration. Bullshit speech. Nothing but lies. How he twisted everything up and put big words in his speech. And sure, he's a smart guy. Yeah, he had to be smart. He had to be a fox to get elected in the first place, a sly fox. Mamdani is a sly fox, but there's other sly foxes in politics. I talked about John Neely Kennedy from Louisiana. He's another slick star politician that tried to run as a Democrat to become the senator and lost both times. And then eventually, the next time he ran, 8 years later, he ran as a Republican senator and won the election. And now he's a U.S. senator, a Republican U.S. senator, which originally ran as a Democrat. So here's like an R-rated Republican that wants to talk talk his great game about how conservative he is, and this guy would take donations from any organization there is. Look at the list of his donations; it will blow you away. But he's more sly than Lindsey Graham from North Carolina. He's much more sly than Lindsey Graham, because Lindsey Graham, has taken huge donations from Big Pharma, from the pharmaceutical industry, and he's not ashamed of it. In fact, Lindsey Graham will have his hand out every time he gets his ass on national television. He'll ask for some kind of a donation, how important it is, and everything like that, and remind everybody. He doesn't need to remind everybody about donations. People already know that they're going to donate, right or left. He's just wasting time on national television asking for a donation. So he's an insult to the American public. And he's another slick star. But if I were to say the best attorney of the two, it's definitely John Neely Kennedy from Louisiana. He's more slick than Lindsey Graham and smarter than Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham talks a good game, but he's not that smart. He's too obvious about the way he does things. Another retail outlet selling my book and free hat is Hoover Dam and Liquor in Boulder City, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas and outside of Henderson, Nevada, just south of there on the way to Phoenix. So that's 1311 Boulder City Parkway is where they're located. Hoover Dam and Liquor. Go over there to the best little liquor store in the state of Nevada. Hoover Dam Liquor. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. I wish that they would get off their ass, both Lindsey Graham and John Neely Kennedy, get off their ass and change the law in Washington, D.C., and exterminate this law that's been swept underneath the rug in the D.C. swamp, requiring Viagra and Cialis to be sold by prescription. If they do this, Viagra is going to find out, and they're going to figure it out eventually, that they can sell sex capsules and put the sildenafil inside sex capsules. But that sex capsule is not going to work as effectively unless they have a little bit of tadalafil in that sex capsule. So they're going to have to put a little bit of tadalafil in that sex capsule. And that means that their patent can no longer be an effective patent to where nobody can copycat it, which is exactly what they want. They don't want anybody to copycat their patent that they have. They believe they have in the sex pill industry. But they've already copycatted the patent in the first place because they took the same exact recipe from India and stole it from India that's been selling for over 100 years, way in the past. The blue pill was selling in India, 100 milligrams of sildenafil, which Viagra took that recipe and started their own company in America, and they sell their pill throughout the world, required by prescription. So it all boils down to money. It all boils down to revenue. That's why Viagra and Cialis is required by prescription, so they can control the politicians in Washington, D.C., and implement Viagra and Cialis being required to be sold by prescription. So they can jack the prices up, and the insurance companies can sneak in the back door and produce even more revenue for themselves and steal more money from the American people when they swallow a Viagra pill, and maybe even a Cialis pill. This, to me, is bizarre because it's a phony law. Prescription drugs have killed more people in America than you can imagine. That's how the opioid epidemic began, and that's how the fentanyl epidemic began, because opioids and fentanyl was originally required by prescription, which caused a craze to Americans to get hooked on these drugs, by these prescription drugs. Then when we were able to obtain the product on the black market and buy it on the street and buy it much more cheaply, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to buy the product more cheaply and they're going to get it on the street. Then they don't have control over the product. And that's when they OD, because when it's sold on the street, there is no control. The greatest thing about sex capsules when they're imported into America is the underground factories are too worried about their own government coming after them, so that's why they won't make a sex capsule too strong. And that's why they mix it with fillers. And I was allowed to make my sex capsule, or Abdullah was allowed to have my sex capsule produced, which he was the one who worked with the factory creating the product, and he was the one who worked with the shippers that shipped the product into me. So Abdullah was only able to have the capsule produced at such strength and was only allowed to put 20 milligrams of tadalafil inside the capsule and 200 milligrams of sildenafil inside the capsule. FDA approved in India. It's not hot in America like it is in India. It's like a heat plate in India. It's like a humid heat plate in India, like Florida is in the summertime. It's like that year-round in India. Same thing in Vietnam. It's in Saigon. It's like the heat plate in Saigon, just like India, year-round. It's hot. The weather never changes. All it does is rains every day. When it rains hard. In India and Vietnam and Thailand are a lot alike in that way. Now, northern Thailand is a cooler environment than down in Bangkok. It's not as hot as Bangkok. In the country, it's a little cooler, but not much. But it's a little cooler than it is in Bangkok. But throughout Vietnam, it's the same time zone and the same heat zone. It's just it's a much smaller country. India and Vietnam. India is much bigger than Vietnam, but Vietnam has 100 million people for its size, and India has over 1 billion people for its size, and it's a smaller country than China, but more populated than China. And I wrote in my book, body heat creates heat on the Earth's surface. The more people on the surface of the Earth, the more body heat is created. So that also increases heat on the Earth's surface and makes the Earth hotter, because there's more people in the world today than there used to be. And I wrote about this in my book, about the real greenery effect, not the fake greenery effect that the Democratic activists tried to implement upon the American people and encroach their new laws on the American people about the environment, how it's a threat to our future, and the Earth is not going to last, and we're all going to die in the next 10 years. And that's all bullshit. And what's the name of that book that was written by the Democrat that ran against Bush and lost the election? What's his name? He wrote a book. What's the name of that book that he wrote? And has made millions of dollars pump faking the public throughout the world about the climate and how we're not going to be alive and how this and that is going to happen, which never happened. It was all lies. And I've been getting that information for me right now. But it all comes down to power. That's why they try to implement these future needs upon the people throughout the world about saying, oh, if we don't do this, this is going to happen. That's how they control you, is by doing things like that. That's how they control the people, by saying that, oh, they're going to protect the people from this happening, and we're going to have windmills instead of having nuclear factories, and we're going to have. Oh, here it is. Thank you, Ivan. That's Al Gore. Al Gore, who ran for the presidency against George Bush, and lost when they had a recall on the vote. Thank God that Bush beat him, because Al Gore is extremely full of shit, and he's made millions of dollars. He's like extorted millions of dollars from the public, and by writing this phony book, An Inconvenient Truth. Even made a movie about it, An Inconvenient Truth. And the world is no longer supposed to exist. I mean, we're supposed to be like covered by water. Am I not correct? And we're supposed to be covered by water. America is supposed to be covered by water now, according to Al Gore. Or the Earth is what's going to happen? I mean, what's going to happen when another political activist comes along like Al Gore? Is the public going to fall for it? Can you imagine, like Al Gore becoming our president, when he writes a book, An Inconvenient Truth, which is filled with lies, and it's a non-factual book. My book is not based on fact. My book is based on opinions, but I'm a spiritual thinker. I don't believe Al Gore is a spiritual thinker. I don't believe that he understands nature like I do. I don't think he even comes close, because in my book I wrote that what we need to do is plant more trees, and that's why it's a good thing when you see these tree farms that grow these trees for Christmas, and people pay like $100 or maybe even up to $200 for a Christmas tree in America, put it in their house and decorate it, and then they throw the tree away. But this is a good thing that happens, because when the tree farms are paid money to sell the trees to an outlet, a retail outlet that sells the trees, that buys them from the tree farmer. This is how the American economy works on everything. The farmer sells to distributorship that ends up selling his crops to a distributorship that brings the product to the stores and sells to the stores. That's how America rolls. From the farmer or the grower, from the manufacturer to the distributor to the retail outlets. That's how free enterprise is. That's how capitalism works. So growing these trees on these tree farms is a good thing, because it adds to the Earth's atmosphere. The more trees that are grown, the more trees on the Earth's surface, the better. So I'm 100% behind tree farms, and I'm 100% behind golf courses. And if people are stupid enough to pay $200 for a Christmas tree, I'm not really going to say they're stupid for buying a Christmas tree. I have a Santa Claus, a miniature Santa Claus that I put in my house in Windover when I go up there for Christmas, and I have some beautiful Christmas ornaments that I put out, but I don't bother with the Christmas tree. I just put Santa Claus out in the room, and I get to look at Santa Claus and all the ornaments and the Christmas stockings and everything such as that, and that's how I enjoy myself. Well, maybe my wife will talk me into a Christmas tree, and I'll get a Christmas tree down here in Henderson or up in Windover and enjoy it, because I'll have somebody else to enjoy the Christmas tree with me. But I won't waste money on a Christmas tree now for myself, because I know I'm just going to have to tear it down and wipe up all the little needles that fall off the Christmas tree, the green needles, which are like leaves on another tree, and sweep them up and then throw them in the garbage and throw the Christmas tree in the garbage. And back in the day, you only paid $5 or $10 or $20 for a Christmas tree in Utah. That's what my father would pay for a Christmas tree. Once we went out and chopped the Christmas tree down around Vernal, Utah. I remember going out with him and going on the trip to Vernal, and we took a dirt road, must have drove like 20 or 30 miles out to an area where we were able to chop down a tree, and we did it. We took it back to our house in Holly Lane and put the Christmas tree up. It was a beautiful thing. And that was a good experience with my father. So chopping that tree down and putting it in our living room for Christmas was a good thing. And I'm glad that I was able to finally share that experience. That's the only time I can remember chopping down a tree. Other than that, he always went and bought a Christmas tree. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that you can put yourself in with nature, anything you do, and enjoy nature. And that's why I have such a strong regard for farmers and ranchers, because they live off nature. They truly learn to enjoy nature to its fullest. And that's how they make their living off of nature. So they, to me, are very close to God in the way they go about producing their income. And anybody who knocks a rancher for growing or raising cattle, and then selling beef to the market where they have to kill the cow, Well, I only have one thing to say. That cow would not be alive unless that rancher or even the farmer was able to raise that cow and pay to feed it, unless he could sell it later on to where it reached its total value and maximized its weight so he could get the most out of it when he sold it to be sold in retail outlets as meat. Again, that cow would not be alive. So if that cow was only around for a couple of years, well, that's 2 years more than it would have had life if the rancher or farmer was not able to raise it. So God bless ranchers and farmers because they make the world go round. We're omnivores. Take your car to Zach Call's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A. I can guarantee it'll be the best mechanical work that will ever be done on your car. It's a personalized job for them. It's not a game of numbers. They're conscientious on anything they do. That includes oil changes, fluid flushes, alignments, brakes. Any kind of diagnostic work that needs to be done, they specialize in, and they do all types of engine work, top of the line. Take your car to Zach Hall's Urban Auto Works on 1010 North Stephanie Street, Suite 1A in Henderson, Nevada, straight out of Vegas. Anywhere in Las Vegas you live, take your car there. You can't go wrong. You can't miss. To purchase my book, go to www.theroadrunnerpodcast.com, and I'll throw in that free hat with any book purchase. My title, The Roadrunner in the Yellow Zone, is the greatest title ever created. Without the sun and the moon feeding off each other, there is no life on Earth. We're not meant to be plant eaters. God did not develop and create a human's body to eat just vegetables and be a vegetarian. We're omnivores. We're in the center. We're between being a carnivore and a plant eater. And that's why we're omnivores as human beings. So anybody who knocks anybody for eating meat, kiss my ass. You don't know what you're talking about. And you don't know why God gave you your body in the first place. So go ahead and talk your socialist bullshit and try to create everything you can, because you're like a lollipop in the womb, like a lollipop Pete. Doesn't really accomplish anything, but just talks your bullshit. Because cows and horses and domesticated animals, including pigs, are here to stay. We love eating bacon. It's that simple. I myself like eating turkey bacon. That's what I like to cook when I make French toast. I like turkey bacon. I like the best quality turkey bacon that I can possibly buy, because there is a difference. And my favorite place to buy turkey bacon used to be Albertsons, but now it's Sprouts. That's why I buy my turkey bacon. It's Sprouts. A very famous grocery store chain, Sprouts, where you get the quality, top quality produce. I mean, the best grapefruit that I've ever eaten, the best bag of grapefruits that I've ever bought in the past consistently is at Sprouts. I don't have to worry about cutting the grapefruit in half and eating the grapefruit that's like doesn't have a good flavor or good taste inside. And Sprouts sells me my best. I'm able to buy my favorite salsa at Sprouts, and I love that salsa. I'll tell you what that salsa is later on, but you can get so many good items at Sprouts. I like to buy chocolate at Sprouts. It's low sugar. It's the best quality chocolate you can eat. I spent up to $6 or $7 for a chocolate bar in Vietnam. It's outrageous. More expensive for a top quality chocolate bar in Vietnam than it is in America. But I'll pay the price just to eat chocolate that's low sugar. The darker the chocolate, the better. Dark chocolate is my favorite to eat. And I can say something else good about dark chocolate. I made love to black women in my lifetime, and they are beautiful. I mean, black women, Spanish women, Asian women, women of any race, they're all beautiful. And they all, have their own style in the rack. So I've been very fortunate, and I'm glad to have made love to all races of women. And I'm very, very glad that I've been patient enough to meet the most beautiful women possible with the best hearts, and try to find a good woman with a good personality, and that's what eventually I was able to do when I met my wife. I've got a beautiful woman with a beautiful body and a beautiful heart, and a woman that's got A, B, and C. You're a lucky man. So beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So what is beautiful to me is maybe not beautiful to another man. So again, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and God bless any man that was able to marry a beautiful woman with a beautiful heart that he is very attracted to. Because that's what God created us for, was to strive for happiness. And happiness is part of being with a good mate, good person that's by your side. Just like a good husband to a good woman, a husband needs a good woman by his side also that he's married to. So I believe 100% in marriage, because I'm happier now as a married man. Even if my wife's not with me right now, I'm happier as a married man, because I'm not running around and acting like a promiscuous man like I did in the past before I met my wife, hanging out with strippers and hookers and overnight girlfriends that I pick up from a bar. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm 100% solid with my wife as far as like mentally. And if I have to have phone sex with her, that's fine with me, because I'd rather have phone sex with my wife than any woman on earth. Because I like the fact that I'm finally loyal to somebody where I never was in the past. So I finally met the love of my life, and I'm so happy for it. And I hope any man out there is in my shoes also in the future, or presently. I hope you are, because women are happiness, and every man needs a good woman. Now, for anybody who's gay, whether it be man or woman, I hope you have a good mate also, a good person by your side, because I don't think there's any happiness in being promiscuous, whether you're normal or gay. And gay people are normal as far as they're concerned. I mean, I sold sex capsules to stores that were gay stores, sex shops, and even a gay locker room, and they were some of my best clients. So I learned a lot about gay people when I got in the sex capsule business. I learned a lot about people in general. And gay people are good people. They're respectful people. And I get along good with them. Vegas is a freedom town. So gay people love living in Las Vegas. They're proud of who they are, and they live in their own little environment. And they go to their bars that are all gay bars, and the sex shop that I sold to was in the gay area, in the gay plate. The locker room was in another gay plate in Las Vegas. And both of these stores I enjoyed selling to a great deal, because they were very, very good people that I sold to, and became friends with them. And they knew that I was straight, and I knew that they were gay, but we still had a good business relationship, and we were friends with each other. And that's what it's all about, being open-minded enough to overlook your own thoughts and hard comings and hard thought to open up to a person, to how they think and what they believe in. So that's another thing the sex capsule business taught me how to be. It was more personable with people and become more of a people person. And I think that's happiness when you're more people-oriented, because the world is becoming too populated to become an isolationist. And I'm not saying that I have to be talking to somebody all the time. I mean, I love my dog, so I love my time with my dog also, and we don't talk. My dog shows me affection, and I give her affection back. So I've never known a time when my dog didn't want to take a walk or didn't want to go to a dog park, and gets extremely excited when I do take her to a dog park, and she can smell the other dogs and see the other dogs. She gets extremely excited when I take her to the ocean, and she's able to run on the beach and be around other dogs and pet-friendly areas on the beach, like Huntington Beach, California, where they have one of the greatest pet parks on the ocean, on the beach there is in America and in the world. There's another great pet beach down in San Diego called Pacific Beach. It's another great area to take your dog. That's a pet area where you can take your dog and enjoy your dog, taking your dog to the beach. And I can guarantee your dog's going to have 10 times more fun than you are. And if I have a great time when I take my dog to the beach or to an animal park, imagine times that by 10 and think what's running through your dog's mind, because I can guarantee you they're 10 times happier on the beach or at a dog park than you are when you take them. So try to take them as often as possible if you do have a dog, because that is their true happiness when they're around other dogs, because they can play harder with other dogs than they can play with us. They like to play hard. They live a short life, and they love to play hard. I hate, the new law that they put this law like decades ago. The socialist activists in Salt Lake City, Utah, and they don't allow you to take your dog up the canyon, up Big Cottonwood Canyon, where Brighton and Solitude is, or Little Cottonwood Canyon, where Outta and Snowbird is. You can't take your dog up there. They'll write you a ticket. They'll actually write you a ticket if you take your dog up there, unless you own a cabin in one of those two canyons. You cannot take your dog up that canyon. So that's why Brian Head became my favorite ski resort to go to later on in life, just above Cedar City, Utah, and just outside of Parowan, where you drive up the canyon, the Snow Basin, and it's beautiful. I'd love to own a cabin up there. I'd love to build a cabin up there. The Snow Basin is a fantastic resort and has tremendous ski runs to ski on. Hard, soft ski runs, difficult to mediocre to easy. I mean, it's fantastic. And when it has a good snowfall, when Utah receives a good snowfall that season, which will definitely happen at least once every 4 years, Snow Basin is fantastic. Now, on a weak snowfall, I'm forced to go to some place like Park City or sneak my dog up Big Cottonwood Canyon or Little Cottonwood Canyon, but I can't do that anymore. I don't have my service van where I can put my dog in the back of the van and roll down the windows a little bit and keep my dog there and take my dog out for a walk, which I did when I went up Big Cottonwood or Little Cottonwood Canyon, and not care if I got the ticket. I was willing to take that chance. But now I only own two sports cars, and I'd have a hard time getting away with taking my dog up there. So my best place to ski in northern Utah is Snow Basin, just above Ogden, and not far from Pinedale Reservoir. And Pinedale Reservoir is right next door to Eden, Utah, where my weak-ass lawyer that robbed me out of my money goes and sneaks up to Utah every weekend, flies up there on my money that he stole from me. And if he didn't use my money that he stole from me, he used my money that he stole from me to pay for something else so he could pay for his plane flight. So indirectly, he used my money to fly up to Eden, Utah every weekend because he's pussy whipped to go see his wife. But he can't get his wife to come down to Vegas to see him and spend time with him. Isn't that something? He's got a house in Summerlin, east of Vegas, and he can't get his wife to come down and spend time with him, but he'll go up to Eden, Utah every weekend to spend time with his wife and his grown-up family. That's just how it is, you know. Some men are weak, especially thieves. They're weak. I was weak when I stole from New Crisp popcorn. I was weak when I stole candy. I was weak when I stole gifts from my mother and father for Christmas. I had to learn how to overcome my weakness and become strong and not steal in the future, and that's exactly what I did. The worst form of theft I ever had as a pool player is when I went broke, and I went broke a few times playing pool out on the road, out in the state, where I was dead broke, didn't have a quarter in my pocket. Maybe maybe only a quarter in my pocket. If I didn't have a quarter in my pocket, I'd borrow a quarter from somebody, then go into a bar and drum up a game for $2 and flip the coin. Sometimes I would win the flip, and he'd have to put the quarter in the bar box and rack the balls. Or if I lost the flip, I'd have to put the quarter in the bar box and rack the balls. So before I asked for a game, I had to have 25 cents in my pocket. If I didn't have a quarter in my pocket, I look like, hey, where's your money if you can't pay to rack the balls? So if I lost the coin flip and I only had a quarter in my pocket, I had to damn well make sure that I won that game, so I'd have $2 in my pocket. If I bet my opponent $2 or $5, I'd make sure that I had to win that game, and I did. I never lost that game when I was dead broke. I always won every game. I always made sure that I was playing the right person when I played that pool game for $2 or $5 to begin getting instantly pumped up. So that's the worst form of theft I ever had out on the road, other than beating a few motel rooms out of money, which was very expensive on the road shooting pool. And my friend Bernie taught me how to do that. God bless you, Bernie, for teaching me how to beat a motel room and say like, oh, I was there for work, and my boss would be there to pay the bill like in a few days that weekend. And I needed the room for like a couple weeks, and he would show up that weekend and pay the bill for both weeks. And that I was there for a business meeting, or to conduct business with another business in that city, and stay in a motel for like a few days for free, and then sneak out before rent was due. Well, it was tough out on the road shooting pool. I mean, you had to be a renegade to be out on the road shooting pool in the first place. The motel expense was your worst expense of all. It wasn't gasoline back then. Gasoline was cheap. And sometimes you could even buy gasoline at a gas station and go in and tell them you wanted, or go in and pump the gas, go to the gas pump and pump the gas, and then not go in and pay for it. I did that a couple times. Not very often. I only did that a couple times, a few times in my life. I remember one time that we burned a gas station. My friend and I from Windover, Nevada, who's now a blackjack dealer. And I wrote about him in my book. We burned a gas station in Idaho. We were on our way to Oregon. And we burned the gas station. And we were on our way to Hermiston, Oregon, to hook up with Gary, the punchboard hustler, the best punchboard hustler in the world. That was in my chapter, The Boards. I'll tell you a story about that later. It was a beautiful thing. But burning gas stations, I did that a few times also myself. So I was no angel. I definitely was like a rebel, and I was willing to do certain things to survive out there traveling and playing pool. And I became very, very street smart and learned how to do things that normal people didn't think of. So it was very, very much survival out on the road when you shot pool. You had to learn to get smart. You had to be one step ahead of everybody and never tell anybody where you were staying. When you were in a bar shooting pool and people would ask you questions where you were staying, you could never tell anybody anything like that. You always had to keep it hidden. You had to tell people like a lie if you had to tell them you were staying somewhere else. If you acted like you didn't want to tell them, then they'd be real wary of what you were doing, and maybe they'd try to follow you back. But if you told them where you were staying and you acted like it was no big deal and you weren't really staying there, well, you lied to the person who was trying to infiltrate your privacy and ask you the question in the first place. So, fuck them. They didn't deserve my honesty. They didn't have to ask me the question in the first place. Sometimes people deserve to be lied to. I'll tell you another type of person that deserves to be lied to. People that get you to vote for them. That try to make you vote for them by telling you a lie and saying they're going to do this or that. Too many people fell for John McCain when he told them he was going to vote out Obamacare. So he lied to the people he voted for. Well, they should have just lied and flat out told him they were going to vote for him, and gone and voted for the other guy or not voted at all. It's better not to vote than it is to vote for a Democrat. If you're going to vote for a Republican and vote for freedom. Freedom is being an anti-socialist. Freedom is about capitalism. Freedom is about protecting our founding fathers for what they created in the first place when they created our Constitution. Freedom is everything we should stand for and need to stand for, because we had the hardest working politicians in the past, which we don't have to this day. These are money-hungry politicians. They're always chasing money. They're constantly chasing money and acting like they represent you. But how did all of a sudden become so wealthy? And all well off when they're just all past lawyers that really weren't successful in that industry in the past, but they became politicians and became extremely wealthy. I think most politicians are definitely lazy lawyers, and that's why they became politicians in the first place. If I was an ambitious lawyer and successful, I would never give up my private practice. So, socialism can definitely take the bite, and we need to exterminate it throughout the world, and that's the way it is. That's how I feel about it. Until my next podcast, I'll be glad to talk to you some more about that. Take care, and again, this is Roadrunner Podcast, straight out of Vegas. And you can buy my book on Roadrunner Podcast, roadrunnerpodcast.com. So it's just .com after Roadrunner Podcast. You'll be able to buy my book, and I'll give you a free hat. One of my 6 past labels of the sex capsule business when I was forced to get out. I had hats made in Vietnam that are very top quality, and I give you a free hat along with the book at my bookstore on roadrunnerpodcast.com. Until that time, and I talk to you the next time, if you get bored in life, get a dog. And go adopt your dog at an animal shelter. Get a dog at an animal shelter because they need your love. They need you to come grab them and get them and rescue them from that shelter so they can stay alive, so they don't kill them, put them to sleep. A lot of these shelters aren't pro-life shelters like the one in Huntington Beach where I was able to get Sky. So I wouldn't even know Sky. Sky wouldn't even be alive to this day if she wasn't in a pro-life shelter because they don't keep them alive for 2 months in a normal shelter. Take care and enjoy. Happy New Year.